How are you settling in? Because you and David are obviously coming forwards and backwards to Leeds and splitting the workload. How have you found the transition over the last 3 months?
I think, look, football is a tremendously exciting industry to be in, and it's very high profile. And one of the things that both David and I are getting used to is every single word that you say, every single thing that you do is reported and analysed and, passed over by hundreds of thousands of people. So that's something that gets a little bit of getting used to. But overall, the experiences have been fantastic. The club's been doing reasonably well. We've worked over or been through one transfer window. We were reasonably satisfied with that. For us, it's really, we set ourselves several objectives, and it's just trying to get those objectives met.
Yeah, speaking of those objectives, obviously I appreciate that you won't want to go into too many specifics, but I put the same question to David as well. Clearly reaching the Premier League is one of them, and another one, as you've said openly before, is strategic investment, isn't it?
Yeah, look, in terms of objectives, I can list out some of the main ones that we have. First and foremost, it has to be reaching the Premier League. That's, I think, the expectation of every single manager and every single owner and every single player that plays in this division is that they do want to go to the Premier League, and we're no different. But having said that, and I said this at our first meeting, not getting to the Premier League doesn't in any way harm our business model. This is something that we want to do, and it's a long-term strategy. It's not something that, we're going to throw everything at once, and if we fail, then we're going to pull away. No. Football's a funny industry. You can do all of the preparations that you want, and if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So that's that. Now, in terms of strategic investors, again, we've said from day one that, we're an investment bank. Investment banks, particularly the model that we follow, we try to bring investors to investment. We don't need to have a strategic investor with us, but, we think it strengthens what we're bringing to the table to have a strategic investor. And I think having a strategic investor will bring additional value to the club and to all the fans. In terms of other objectives, we look at the fan base. The fan base has been disenfranchised for a number of years, and we've announced a number of initiatives which we are really hoping that will bring the fans back to Ellen Road. And nothing is better than being at full Ellen Road. We were there for the Chelsea game. I was there for the Tottenham game, and the atmosphere on those days is absolutely fantastic. And I don't see why you can't have that atmosphere every single game. Another objective we had was the community, getting the club back to the heart of the community. And we think with this initiative that we've announced this week, take it to the kids. We're going back to the grassroots, starting at a very early stage. So getting them involved in football, getting them interested in Leeds United, and hopefully from that we will make new fans for life. We're bringing through the new generation of fans, and if we get really lucky, we may even find the next Sam Byram or the next Tom Lees, and that's really the objective of connecting with the community again. So those have really been our high-level objectives, and we're working towards those.
David spoke in a bit of detail about possible links with Leeds and Dubai, or the UAE in particular. The parent company, in fact, of GFH Capital, GFH, is Bahrain-based, as are you as well. Do you see in the long run a strong relationship between Bahrain specifically and Leeds? We're
in the planning process of having a soccer school here, as well as something maybe slightly on a bigger scale in Dubai. We would like to continue our links with the club in some way, shape or form, which is not based on just the investment side. We think if we have a soccer school here, it enhances the brand of Leeds, and that can only be beneficial to the club. If you have more international supporters, it can translate into more revenue for the club, and similarly in Dubai as well. So it's about enhancing the brand, making a stronger connection with these countries, and then hopefully that will translate into more cash for the club in the future.
When the takeover was completed, Ken Bates spoke on record as the source of income being from a rich Bahraini who was a member of the government. Is there any truth in that, or was the whole takeover simply done by GFH Capital and Ken was just confused?
we're on record of saying that, look, there was never one single wealth investor that was behind this bid. GFH, as I have our account shown, and GFH Capital, and several small strategic investors have bought this club through our own resources. There was no debt involved in acquiring the club, and this is all on public record already.
Now, it would be a big ask, but certainly not beyond the realms of possibility for Leeds to sneak into the playoffs this season. So there's still plenty to play for on the field, isn't there?
There is, and look, I speak to Neil nearly every day. We have a good relationship, and we're very confident that, if we can string a couple of victories together, we can still sneak into the playoffs. And it's a really funny league where everyone literally is beating everyone, and few results can go our way, and we can be really right back in it. We have to give credit to Neil and the team. They came in for some heavy sticks in the last couple of weeks. Some of the performances and the results weren't good, but all fairness to them, they've come back, played really well. The style of football has improved, the results have improved, and they've gone to two of the best teams in the league away from home, and against both of the teams they nearly won. So you can't really ask for more than that.
And although nobody wanted to lose Luciano, Becchio, and obviously before that Snodgrass as well, were you in some senses quite pleased with how the January transfer window went? Because Ross McCormack's still at the club, and Steve Morrison, given that Becchio chose to leave for a Premier League opportunity, Steve Morrison coming the other way was a good bit of business.
Back in the summer, we were just starting to look at the club, and we'd entered into exclusivity with the club, and we understood that there was a situation with Snodgrass, and he had asked to leave, and we did actually try to persuade him to stay, but unfortunately, I spoke to him personally, and within a few minutes we knew that his mind had already been made up, so there was nothing we could do about that. With regards to Becchio, again, we didn't want any of our best players to leave, but he had offers from other clubs, which he felt was in his and his family's interest to pursue. So again, we didn't stand in the way, but what we did ensure this time was that we did whatever we did for the best interest of the club. So we got Steve Morrison in exchange, plus a bit of cash, and we thought that was a great bit of business, to be honest. And Steve Morrison has had a good start. He's scored several goals, and I think he'll be a good asset for the club in the coming years.
And again, from a football point of view, the new season ticket offer that you've launched with reduced prices has been really well received. And I guess you must be finding, and the attendances seem to verify this point, that since you've taken charge and moving forwards to next season, the fans are coming back.
Yeah, exactly. I think, whenever Ellen Road is full, it makes a lot of difference, not only from a financial perspective, but, from a team's perspective. It's always better when you've got a full stadium cheering you on. And, a lot of the fans, given the history of Leeds, are disenfranchised. And, what we'd say to them is, look, we've only been at the club for 3 months. We're trying to listen. We're trying to engage. We're slowly making the changes that are being called for and that we think are sensible. The season tickets were one example. Clearly our season tickets were out of the reach of a lot of people. So we've listened to the fans, and we hope that they can respond likewise and, increase the number of season ticket holders that we have and, come back in numbers to start supporting the team again.
You've been full of praise for the team and how they're doing, and you're in regular contact with Neil. So why do you think there's so many factions, either within the club or just the fans, that are saying Neil's going at the end of the season and there'll be a new manager in place?
Well, look, Neil himself has publicly said that, he wants to retire at the end of the season. So there's no secret in that. And, for whatever reason, the Leeds fans haven't taken to Neil in the way that they've taken to managers in the past. Now, that may have something to do with that, he was manager of Sheffield United, or I don't know what it is, but, as far as we're concerned, at this stage, it's results that matter. And if he can get us into the Premier League, then, that's the best thing that's going to happen for this club. But, in terms of when the season closes, and, we're considering who the next manager should be. And, there are a number of criteria that we have for the next manager, and we're hoping that whoever we bring in can take this club forward.
Is Nigel Atkins on your shortlist?
So I'm not going to say who is and who's not on our shortlist, but, in terms of our criteria, we want someone who's got a good background, who's got, a track record of achieving success. We want someone who has the ability to nurture some of our younger players and, make them great players. And a manager is really central to not only the progress of a player, but also if a player feels that they are not improving at a club, then there's more chances of them wanting to leave the club. Whereas even if the club is not entirely successful, but you've got a manager that's improving players, there's less likelihood of the players wanting to leave. So, that's another criteria that we have. And, someone who really is a closely committed football person, someone who the fans can really get behind and, who can re-energize the football side of the club again.
But presumably with the season coming to a close, if you are going to replace Neil, you're already speaking to people or at least thinking about his replacement. So if Leeds were to reach the Premier League, does that still mean Neil goes, or you'd be knocking on his door and saying, don't retire?
Well, look, we'll address that issue. We'll address that good problem to have if we have that problem. But until then, let's not think about it.
And a last one, the actual interaction with the fans. Are we going to see when you get the opportunity to kind of set out all of these goals? We've already seen the season ticket initiatives and possibly some academies opening all around the world as well. But say Lust will counter that and say they've not had much contact with you. The fans forum was cancelled as well. So do you have a long-term ambition to speak to the fans directly, and when will that time come?
Look, I speak to Leeds fans every single day, okay? Just because I don't do that publicly doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. And I can name you a whole handful of people that I speak to nearly on a day-to-day basis to get their feedback, to understand what their thoughts are, to understand, whatever initiative was put in place, whether that's a good initiative or not. So just because it's not being done in the public eye doesn't mean it's not being done. In terms of the fans forum, it's something that we're very keen to do. Unfortunately, it was cancelled because of unforeseen circumstances, and we hope when we can get a date when both David and I are in Leeds at the same time, we can rearrange.